Commander Thelvar stood on the bridge of his warship, looking out at the stars. He was 14 feet tall and covered in black armor that grew from his own body. His 4 red eyes could see in complete darkness. His claws could cut through steel like paper. He was Vorthak, and the Vorthak ruled the galaxy's battlefields. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Every Vorthak on the ship was a perfect killing machine. They had been born on Nexus Prime, a world that tried to murder everything that lived on it. Only the strongest survived to adulthood. "Sir, we are receiving a message from the Galactic Council," reported his communications officer, Subcommander Velcor. "Put it through," Thelvar ordered. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Zorthane of the Galactic Council appeared. She was a Zelrani, one of the older species in the galaxy. Her blue skin was pale, and her hands shook slightly as she spoke. "Commander Thelvar," she began, "we need your help again. The Corvin system is at war. 3 planets are fighting each other. Millions have died. Our diplomats cannot stop the violence." Thelvar nodded slowly. This was nothing new. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had called the Vorthak whenever peace talks failed. When species could not solve their problems with words, they solved them with Vorthak strength. "What are your orders?" he asked. "End the war," Admiral Zorthane replied simply. "We do not care how. Just make it stop." The screen went dark. Thelvar turned to his crew. "Set course for the Corvin system. Maximum speed." As the massive ship jumped to light speed, Thelvar thought about his people's history. The Vorthak had not always been the galaxy's police force. Long ago, they had been just another species trying to survive on their terrible homeworld. Nexus Prime was a nightmare planet. The ground was made of sharp crystal that could slice open your feet. Storms of acid rain fell from the sky without warning. The gravity changed randomly, sometimes crushing you to the ground, sometimes throwing you into the air. Earthquakes happened every day. Volcanoes erupted every week. But the worst part was the other life forms. Everything on Nexus Prime was designed to kill. The trees had poisonous thorns. The grass had razor edges. The animals were all predators with armor like tanks and teeth like swords. Most species would have died on such a world. But the Vorthak adapted. They grew their own armor. They became faster, stronger, more deadly than anything else on their planet. They learned to fight everything, including each other. When the Vorthak finally built spaceships and left their world, they found that the rest of the galaxy was soft and weak. Other species lived on gentle planets with mild weather and friendly animals. They had never learned to fight for their lives every single day. The first war the Vorthak fought against aliens lasted exactly 4 hours. The enemy had advanced technology and superior numbers. But they had never faced anything like a Vorthak warrior. The aliens surrendered when they realized that Vorthak soldiers could not be stopped by normal weapons. After that, word spread quickly through the galaxy. The Vorthak were unstoppable. They never retreated. They never showed mercy to enemies. They never lost a battle. But the Vorthak were not simple killers. They were honorable warriors who followed strict rules. They only fought when necessary. They protected the weak. They kept their word. Soon, other species began asking for Vorthak help instead of fearing Vorthak conquest. The Galactic Council made them the official peacekeepers. When diplomacy failed, when trade wars turned violent, when entire star systems threatened to destroy each other, the Council sent the Vorthak to restore order. Now, thousands of years later, Commander Thelvar commanded the most powerful warship in the galaxy. The Dominator was 3 miles long and armed with weapons that could destroy planets. But its most dangerous weapons were the 500 Vorthak warriors inside it. "Sir, we are approaching the Corvin system," Navigator Kexthal reported. Thelvar could see the 3 warring planets on his screen. Space around them was filled with burning ships and debris. The war had been going on for 2 years. Each planet thought they were right. None of them would compromise. "Open a channel to all 3 planets," Thelvar ordered. His image appeared on screens across the Corvin system. When the warring species saw him, many of them stopped fighting immediately. Everyone in the galaxy knew what a Vorthak looked like. "I am Commander Thelvar of the Vorthak Empire," he announced. "By order of the Galactic Council, this war will end now. You have 1 hour to reach a peace agreement. If you cannot agree, I will make the decision for you." The channel closed. Thelvar did not need to explain what would happen if they refused. Everyone knew that arguing with a Vorthak was like arguing with a volcano. 57 minutes later, the 3 planets called to surrender. They agreed to peace talks and promised to stop fighting. Another war ended. Another problem solved. Thelvar felt satisfied as his ship turned toward home. The Vortak had brought peace to the galaxy once again. He had no idea that soon he would meet a species that would change everything he believed about strength and survival. But that encounter was still days away, approaching from the edge of known space in ships held together with hope and determination. Deep in the outer rim of galactic space, monitoring station Omega-12 had been quiet for 7 months. Lieutenant Carthex was almost asleep at his post when the scanners began beeping. At first, he thought it was another asteroid or space junk. But the readings were strange. "What is that?" he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. The screen showed several objects moving through space. They were not asteroids. They were ships. But these were not like any ships in the galactic database. They looked rough and ugly. Metal patches covered their hulls like bandages on wounded animals. Pipes and cables hung outside the ships like intestines. It looked like someone had built them in a junkyard. Carthex pressed the emergency button. Within minutes, his supervisor Commander Nextal arrived at the station. "Sir, we have unknown vessels entering our space," Carthex reported. "But they are strange." Commander Nextal looked at the scanner readings. His face showed confusion. "These ships should not be able to fly. Look at this construction. It is primitive. Ancient even." The ships were small compared to galactic standard vessels. They moved slowly and seemed to struggle against the solar winds. But somehow they kept moving forward. "Where did they come from?" Nextal asked. Carthex traced the ship's path backward through space. The computer calculated their origin point. When the results appeared on screen, both aliens stared in shock. "That cannot be correct," Nextal whispered. The ships had come from a system at the very edge of the galaxy. A system that had never been explored because long-range scanners showed it was too dangerous for life. Carthex pulled up the planetary data. "Sir, look at these readings. The third planet in that system. It is impossible." The planet's surface temperature changed from freezing cold to burning hot. Massive storms covered most of the surface. The atmosphere contained gases that would kill most known species. Earthquakes happened constantly. Volcanoes erupted without warning. "The gravity is 1.2 times standard," Carthex read from his screen. "The radiation levels would cook most beings in days. And look at this, the planet has been hit by asteroids dozens of times. Any civilization should have been wiped out long ago." Commander Nextal studied the data carefully. According to their computers, this planet was one of the most dangerous worlds ever discovered. Nothing should be able to live there, let alone build spaceships. "Send a message to Central Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have a mystery." 3 hours later, the message reached Galactic Command Center. Admiral Zorthane read the report twice before believing it. "Impossible," she said to her assistant. "No species could survive on such a world." But the evidence was clear. The ships were real. They were heading deeper into galactic space. And they had definitely come from that Deathworld. Admiral Zorthane called a meeting of the Science Council. 12 of the galaxy's smartest beings gathered around the holographic display showing the mysterious ships. "These vessels appear to be held together with welded metal and hope," said Chief Scientist Velmar. "Yet our scans show they are functional. They have traveled hundreds of light years." "What about the beings inside?" asked Dr. Hexera, the xenobiologist. "That is where it gets more interesting," Velmar replied. He pressed a button and new readings appeared. "We can detect life forms inside the ships. They appear to be carbon-based, similar to many known species. But they are small. Much smaller than expected." The readings showed creatures that were only about 6 feet tall. They had no natural armor or weapons. No claws, no fangs, no thick skin. They looked fragile and weak. "How did such weak creatures survive on that terrible world?" wondered Dr. Hexera. "Maybe they are not as weak as they appear," suggested Admiral Zorthane. "Remember, they built these ships. They traveled across space. They did something no other species has done. They survived on a planet that should have killed them." The scientists studied the ships for hours. The more they looked, the more questions they had. The ships were built with materials that could be found on any world. Nothing special or advanced. But somehow, these materials had been put together in ways that worked. "Look at this," Dr. Hexera pointed to one ship's engine. "They are using controlled explosions for power. It is dangerous and inefficient. But it works." "And here," added Chief Scientist Velmar, "they have backup systems for their backup systems. Everything has 3 different ways to work." "They build like they expect everything to break," observed Admiral Zorthane. The meeting continued late into the night. Finally, Admiral Zorthane made her decision. "We need to make contact," she announced. "But carefully. Any species that survived on such a world must be respected. They may be small, but they are clearly dangerous in their own way. Should we send the Vorthak? Asked Dr. Hexera. They are our best warriors. Admiral Zorthane nodded. Yes. Commander Thelvar can handle first contact. If these creatures are hostile, he can stop them. If they are peaceful. She paused. Well, perhaps we will learn something new about survival. As the scientists left the meeting, they all wondered the same thing. What kind of species could look so weak yet survive on such a deadly world? Soon they would find out. The mysterious ships continued their slow journey toward the heart of galactic civilization, carrying secrets that would change everything. The massive Vorthak warship Dominator slowly approached the strange human vessels. Commander Thelvar stood on his bridge, studying the alien ships through the viewing screen. Up close, they looked even more primitive than the scanner reports had suggested. Sir, should we power weapons? Asked his weapons officer, Subcommander Velcor. Not yet, Thelvar replied. Let us see what these creatures do first. The human ships made no aggressive moves. They did not run away either. They simply continued on their course, as if a massive Vorthak battleship was nothing unusual. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. Put it on screen, Thelvar ordered. The main viewer flickered, then showed the inside of one of the human ships. Thelvar expected to see a warrior similar to himself, tall, armored, intimidating. Instead, he saw something completely different. A small creature sat in what appeared to be a command chair. It had soft pink skin and no visible weapons or armor. Its eyes were tiny compared to Vorthak eyes. It looked incredibly fragile. Greetings, the creature said. Its voice was translated by the universal language system. I am Captain Jean of the Earth vessel Persistence. We come in peace. Thelvar stared at the screen. In 3,000 years of Vorthak history, first contact always went the same way. The other species either attacked immediately or begged for mercy. This tiny creature did neither. I am Commander Thelvar of the Vorthak Empire, he announced, letting his voice carry its full authority. You have entered galactic space without permission. State your business or prepare to be destroyed. He expected the creature to show fear. Maybe it would cry or beg. Most species wet themselves when faced with a Vorthak threat. Instead, Captain Jean smiled. We are explorers from Earth. We seek knowledge and friendship with other species. Would it be possible to meet in person? Thelvar's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. This creature wanted to meet face to face? Either it was incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. You wish to board my ship? Thelvar asked. If that would be acceptable, yes. Or you could visit our ship. Whatever makes you more comfortable. Subcommander Velcor leaned close to Thelvar. Sir, this could be a trap. These creatures might be more dangerous than they appear. Thelvar considered this. The humans did come from a death world. Perhaps their weakness was an act. Maybe they were hiding some terrible weapon. Very well, Thelvar decided. I will transport to your vessel. But know that if this is treachery, my ship will destroy yours instantly. Understood, Captain Jean replied calmly. We welcome you aboard. 10 minutes later, Thelvar materialized in the main room of the human ship. He had to bend down to avoid hitting his head on the ceiling. Everything was built for much smaller beings. Captain Jean stood waiting for him. Behind the captain were 4 other humans, 2 males and 2 females. They were all tiny compared to Thelvar. The largest human barely reached his chest. Welcome aboard the Persistence, Captain Jean said. He made a slight bow. These are my senior officers. Engineer Kai, Medic Hannah, Navigator Yuna, and Communications Officer Miho. Each human nodded politely. None of them showed fear. They looked at Thelvar with what appeared to be curiosity and interest. This was wrong. All wrong. Thelvar was a nightmare to most species. His black armor, his razor-sharp claws, his towering height, these things should inspire terror. But these humans looked at him like he was just another person. You are not afraid, Thelvar observed. It was not a question. Should we be? Captain Jean asked. You have shown no hostile actions toward us. I could kill all of you in seconds, Thelvar stated matter-of-factly. Perhaps, Jean agreed. But you have not tried to. That suggests you are civilized. We respect civilized beings. Engineer Kai stepped forward. Commander, your ship is magnificent. Could you tell us about its construction? We are always interested in learning new engineering techniques. Thelvar stared at the small human. Was he serious? Most beings who saw a Vorthak warship worried about its weapons, not its engineering. You survived on a death world, Thelvar said, changing the subject. Yet you appear weak. How is this possible? Medic Hannah spoke up. Our world taught us that individual strength is not everything. We learned to work together. Work together? Thelvar repeated. Yes, Navigator Yuna explained. When one of us is not strong enough, others help. When one does not know something, others teach. We are stronger as a group than we are alone. This concept was alien to Thelvar. Vorthak society valued individual strength above all else. The weak were left behind. The strong survived and conquered. But how do you determine who leads? Thelvar asked. Do you fight for dominance? Captain Jean shook his head. We choose leaders based on knowledge and wisdom, not just strength. Sometimes the best leader is the one who can think of solutions others cannot see. Communications Officer Miho added, on our world, we learned that many different kinds of strength exist. Physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength. We try to use all of them. Thelvar felt more confused than he had ever been in his long life. These creatures made no sense according to everything he knew about survival and strength. Show me, he said finally. Show me this cooperation you speak of. As if summoned by his words, an alarm began sounding throughout both ships. Danger was approaching, and soon these strange humans would have their chance to prove their claims. The alarm screamed through both ships. Red emergency lights flashed everywhere. Navigator Yuna quickly checked her instruments while Captain Jean moved to the main control panel. What is happening? Commander Thelvar demanded, his massive frame filling the human ship's small bridge. Asteroid storm, Yuna reported. Very large. Very fast. Both our ships are in the path. Through the viewing window, Thelvar could see chunks of rock and metal flying toward them. Some asteroids were as big as small buildings. They moved like bullets through space. My ship can survive this, Thelvar said confidently. Vorthak vessels are built for battle. But your weak ships will be destroyed. Captain Jean looked at his crew. Options. Engineer Kai studied his readings. Our shields are too weak. We cannot survive a direct hit from the large asteroids. Time to impact? Jean asked. For minutes, Yuna replied. Thelvar activated his communication device. Velcor, prepare to destroy the asteroids with our weapons. Sir, there are too many, came the reply. We cannot destroy them all in time. For the first time, Thelvar looked worried. Even Vorthak ships had limits. But the humans were already moving. Without orders from Captain Jean, each crew member began doing different tasks. Thelvar watched in amazement as they split up and went in different directions. Engineer Kai ran to his tools. I can reroute power from non-essential systems to boost our shields, he called out. How long will that take? Jean asked. 3 minutes if I work alone. Less if I have help. Medic Hannah immediately followed Kai. Tell me what to do. Communications Officer Miho was already talking to the Vorthak ship. Commander Velcor, can your ship extend its shield around our vessel? Impossible, Velcor replied. Our shields are designed to protect only our own ship. Navigator Yuna looked up from her controls. What if we link the two ships together? Make them one larger target instead of two smaller ones. Thelvar stared at her. You want to attach your weak ship to ours? That will make us both slower and harder to control. But it will let your shields protect both crews, Captain Jean explained. We survive together or die together. This idea terrified Thelvar. In Vorthak culture, you never made yourself weaker to help someone else. But he watched the humans work together with incredible speed and efficiency. Engineer Kai was under a control panel, his hands working on complicated wiring. Medic Hannah held a flashlight and handed him tools. She could not do the technical work, but she made Kai work faster by helping him. Communications Officer Miho coordinated everything. He talked to both ships at once, making sure everyone knew what everyone else was doing. Navigator Yuna calculated the best position for the linked ships. 2 minutes to impact, Yuna announced. Shields are at 60% and rising, Kai reported from under the control panel. But it was not enough. The asteroids were too big and moving too fast. Then Captain Jean made a decision that shocked Thelvar. All crew prepare for emergency procedures. We will use our ship as a shield for the Vorthak vessel. What? Thelvar roared. You will sacrifice yourselves for us? Not sacrifice, Jean corrected. Strategic positioning. Our ship is smaller and faster. We can absorb impacts from the smaller asteroids while your ship handles the large ones. Thelvar could not understand this logic. But you will be destroyed. Engineer Kai emerged from under the control panel, his face covered in sweat. Shields are now at 90%. And I have an idea. He looked at Thelvar. Your ship has powerful weapons but uses a lot of energy. Our ship has weak weapons but very efficient power systems. What if we share power between both ships? Share power? Thelvar repeated. Connect our energy systems, Medic Hannah explained. Your ship can use our power for weapons. Our ship can use your power for shields. 1 minute to impact, Navigator Yuna warned. Thelvar had seconds to decide. Everything in his training said this was madness. You never shared your strength with others. You kept it for yourself. But he looked at the humans working together. In 3 minutes, they had solved problems that would have taken Vorthak engineers hours to figure out. They were not just helping their own ship, they were trying to save his crew too. Do it, Thelvar commanded. The next 60 seconds were chaos. Both ships shook violently as asteroids began hitting them. The human's smaller ship took dozens of impacts, its hull denting and cracking. But their boosted shields held. The Vorthak ship used its powerful weapons, now supercharged by human power systems, to destroy the largest asteroids. When smaller rocks got through, the human ship moved to block them. Through it all, both crews worked as one team. Humans repaired damage on the Vorthak ship. Vorthak warriors helped fix human systems. Engineers from both species shared ideas and solutions. When the storm finally ended, both ships were damaged but intact. More importantly, both crews were alive. Thelvar looked around the human bridge. These small, soft creatures had just risked everything to save his people. For the first time in his life, the mighty Vorthak commander felt something he had never experienced before. Respect for a different kind of strength. The repair work took 2 days. Commander Thelvar watched in amazement as humans and Vorthak worked side by side throughout both ships. Engineer Kai showed young Vorthak technicians how to fix damaged systems with simple tools and creative thinking. Medic Hannah treated injured Vorthak warriors with the same care she gave to her own crew members. This is not normal, Subcommander Velkor said quietly to Thelvar. In 3,000 years, no alien species has ever helped repair our ships. Thelvar nodded, watching Navigator Yuna teach Vorthak pilots a new way to fly through dangerous areas. The humans did not just share their knowledge, they seemed happy to do it. Sir, Velkor continued, the crew is asking questions. They want to know why we are working with these small aliens instead of conquering them. It was a fair question. For thousands of years, the Vorthak way was simple. Meet a new species, test their strength, then either conquer them or accept their surrender. But these humans did not fit the old rules. Captain Jean approached Thelvar, holding 2 cups of hot liquid. Coffee, he explained, offering one to the massive alien commander. It is a human drink. It helps us stay awake during long work periods. Thelvar carefully took the tiny cup in his enormous claws. The cup looked like a toy in his hands, but the liquid inside was warm and pleasant. Your people confuse me, Thelvar admitted. You are individually weak, yet you accomplish impossible things. You risk yourselves for others, even strangers. This goes against everything I know about survival. Jean sat down on a supply crate, making himself comfortable. On Earth, we learned that survival is not just about being the strongest individual. It is about making sure your group survives. But the weak slow down the strong, Thelvar argued. They consume resources. They become burdens. Sometimes, yes, Jean agreed. But weak people can become strong in different ways. Engineer Kai was a sick child on Earth. He could not do physical work. So he learned to fix things with his mind instead. Now he can repair systems that stronger people cannot even understand. Thelvar looked across the room where Kai was explaining something to 3 Vorthak engineers. The small human was drawing pictures and using simple words, but the massive aliens were listening carefully and nodding. Medic Hannah was afraid of everything when she was young, Jean continued. She was scared of heights, scared of violence, scared of blood. But she became a doctor because she wanted to help others overcome their fear. Now she runs toward danger to save people. Through the ship's speakers, they could hear Hannah's voice giving medical instructions to a Vorthak medic. She was teaching him how to treat injuries using human techniques. And Navigator Yuna? Thelvar asked. She failed her first test to become a pilot, Jean said with a smile. The instructor said she was too careful, too slow to make quick decisions. But careful pilots make fewer mistakes. Slow decisions are sometimes better than fast ones. Communications Officer Miho's voice came over the intercom, coordinating work between both ships and keeping everyone informed about progress. His calm, clear instructions helped both crews work together smoothly. Each of my crew members has weaknesses, Captain Jean explained. But together, their strengths cover each other's weaknesses. Kai's technical skills, Hannah's medical knowledge, Yuna's careful planning, Miho's communication abilities, none of them could survive alone on Earth. Together they can survive anywhere. Thelvar was quiet for a long time, thinking about Jin's words. Finally he spoke. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak have been the strongest individual warriors in the galaxy. We have won every battle, conquered every enemy. But we have also been alone. He looked around at the mixed crews working together. We are strong, but we do not help each other the way your people do. Each Vorthak fights for himself first, others second. Maybe, Jin suggested carefully, there is room in the galaxy for both kinds of strength. That evening, both crews shared a meal together in the Vorthak ship's large dining hall. Humans and Vorthak sat at the same tables, sharing food and stories. Young Vorthak warriors listened with fascination as the humans described Earth's dangerous weather and natural disasters. The humans were equally interested in stories about Nexus Prime's crystal storms and gravity wells. During the meal, Thelvar stood up. The entire hall became quiet. I have an announcement, he said, his deep voice carrying to every corner of the room. Tomorrow both ships will continue their journeys. The humans will continue exploring. We Vorthak will return to our duties. Many of the Vorthak warriors looked disappointed. They had enjoyed working with the humans. However, Thelvar continued, I am sending a message to the Galactic Council. I am recommending that humanity be granted full membership status and recognized as equals in galactic society. The humans looked surprised. Full membership usually took years of testing and negotiation. Furthermore, Thelvar added, the Vorthak Empire formally requests a mutual assistance agreement with Earth. We offer our individual strength to protect human exploration vessels. In return, we ask to learn from human cooperation techniques. Captain Jean stood up slowly. Commander, we would be honored to accept both offers. As the two leaders shook hands, everyone in the dining hall began clapping humans and Vorthak together. Later, as the ships prepared to separate, Thelvar made one final log entry. Today I learned that strength comes in many forms. The galaxy is big enough for all of them.